I just finished watching the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and my initial thoughts are that I don't think it's a good movie. However, big but right here, it's the fact that I do think it was a fun movie. And the difference to me is that like a good movie has a good plot line that you can follow from A to B. And I don't think this movie does a good job of that. But it does do a really good job of exploring the Mario world, and I really do think it was fun. The jokes were pretty funny, and the side plots were all enjoyable to watch. And so I want to break down the things that I liked about the movie and the things that I didn't like about the movie and my initial thoughts as to watching it just now. I'm your host, Seb, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below. Are you guys excited to go watch the movie? Have you seen it already, and what are your thoughts so far? But let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit. This is going to be my non-spoiler warning for the first part of it, and then I'll jump into spoilers and you guys will know. But as I was saying about the world building and the storyline, I didn't think they did a good job of that, because the storyline follows Princess Rosalina, and obviously she gets captured, and then the whole movie is them trying to go save her, right? But you would forget that that's what the plot is about, because they spend maybe a total like 10 minutes doing that, and a lot of it is just side quests. It reminded me a lot of episode 8 from Star Wars. When that came out, everybody was talking about how they didn't really have a main plot. It was just like a lot of side quests and then just the final battle at the end. That's really what this one felt like, unfortunately. And although that takes away from the storyline of it, I do think that it was really fun because the world building was insane. They had so many references that they were just throwing out there and just exploring, and I think they did a really good job of having fun with it. I also really enjoyed the references because, I mean, they knew their source material and they were throwing it out wherever it fit. You know, if they visited the dusty planet like they do when they find Yoshi, you know, they had like the dusty mobs over there. And same thing with like the Mushroom Kingdom and any of the other planets that they go and visit. So I thought that was really well done. But my biggest gripe about the movie isn't even just the plot being a little bit messy. It's the fact of who the main character is, because the main character of the movie was Peach. And I hope that's not a huge spoiler, so sorry about that, guys. But the main character of the movie was Peach. And it really sucks because the name of the movie is Super Mario. And I don't have a problem with Peach being the main character. It just sucks that they didn't really want to dive into it. Although like she was the main character, they didn't really dive into it as much as they should have. I think they should have leaned into it more. And I think it would have actually made the story a little bit better. But instead they were just trying to still make Mario feel like the main character, even though he wasn't, just because like the story wasn't about him. And so I thought that also made it a little bit messy trying to watch it. I do think if you're planning to go see the movie already, then it's definitely worth checking out. But if you're on the fence about it, like, do I want to see it? Do I not? What are the reviews saying? I would say maybe you're better off just waiting to watch it when it comes out onto like the streaming platforms, unless of course you got a group of friends that are also curious about it. Then it could be really fun because, you know, you could just crack jokes. That's what I ended up doing the whole time. Again, I do think it was a fun movie, but I don't know if I'd recommend somebody to go watch it. But spoiler warning going up there right now. Spoiler warning, spoiler warning. Okay, spoiler warning over. The thing about the plot line that I didn't really like is the fact that I said Peach was the main character. And you can tell right away because they split up the story. And then at the very end of the movie, we get the biggest twist of it all. And that's that Rosalina and Peach are sisters. And I'm really happy that they decided to take that route, because in the main story, in like the video games, I don't think we've ever gotten a confirmation of what they actually are in relation to each other. But I do like that they ended up playing with that in the movie, because it makes their connection even better. And it also explains Peach's backstory, because we didn't really get that in the first movie. And so I thought that was really neat. But because they wanted to show how they were sisters and that Rosalina needed saving, that's why Peach was the one who ended up leaving first to go rescue Rosalina. And then Mario and Luigi are stuck at the Mushroom Kingdom, just, you know, taking care of it, doing chores or whatever. And then at some point, Bowser Jr. comes in and, you know, takes their castle, and then they get involved in the storyline because they go find Peach or whatever. But as Peach is, you know, searching the cosmos or whatever, this is where it gets kind of fun. She ends up getting into like the Super Mario airport, whatever it is. And she gets stranded there, and she's like, man, we could really use somebody who could take us, you know, fly us out somewhere. And guess who's waiting right there in the background with a big fox on his ship? You guessed it, bro. A new challenger approached. It was Fox. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I remember I actually jumped out of my seat because I looked at my friends and I was like, holy shit, we got Smash Bros in here. That was actually insane. And I like how they tied a story into it because it kind of sets up a little bit of like a multiverse type of thing. But hopefully give us a Star Fox sequel, or I guess not a sequel, a spinoff at some point. But man, was that pretty fun to see. And again, how we got to Fox, like, it was just so weird. It was so messy. Like, there were like three different mini plot lines that got us to Fox, but I didn't mind him being there. I thought it was pretty cool. And the backstory they gave him was also pretty tough. Like, all of the little star dudes or whatever that are like Rosalina's children, they were all like mad or reaching with this guy. Like, they could see it and they wanted to be a part of that. So shout out them. Another plot line that I didn't really like was Bowser's plot line in the movie, because they ended up making him like a joke character at the start, which is fine again, because I thought it was funny. But then he ends up trying to be like a nice guy, and his whole thing is he wants to go big again, and he's begging Mario, like, please, please let me be big. I'll prove myself to you. As he begs or whatever, things happen to him and he gets angry, and it shows that he still has like anger issues. But then the second that he's, told to prove himself, he actually ends up sacrificing himself to become a slave. So that way Mario and Luigi and the gang can not be slaves and they can go save Princess Peach. And then he ends up getting captured by Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr.'s like, you're soft now. And Bowser's like, well, those guys are like losers, but they're likable losers. And then they end up shooting them down, and then he thinks that they died, and so then he becomes a bad guy again. And it was like what? What was the whole point of him being like all wishy-washy? And I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. I wanted it to be more of like formulating my thoughts here. I wanted it to be more of a thing that ended up playing as to how they beat Bowser Jr. in the end. Because if Bowser was a little wishy-washy, like, is he good? Is he bad? I wanted it to be one of those lessons where, maybe he is evil, but it's because he hasn't had a chance to be good. And then when he's put to the test, like at the end of the movie, like maybe Bowser Jr. is about to like blow up the moon or something. He ends up being like, no, Jr., like, this is wrong. Kind of like a Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker moment when he throws Palpatine down the chain. He's like, no, like, obviously I hope he doesn't do that to Bowser Jr., but I thought it was going to be something along those lines, and it just didn't end up happening that way. And I thought that kind of sucked. I thought it would have been a really cool point for the movie. And then some of the other things I didn't really like is just the power-ups and like Bowser Jr.'s staff and some of the things in the story, because I'm a boomer now. I'm an old head. I don't really know what's going on with the Mario-verse. And so I wish they explained a little bit more on those items. Not that it really mattered in the grand scheme of things. Like, all you had to know is like, oh, he's got a stick and it paints and shit, and it's like really bad. But the whole time I really thought I was just watching Epic Mickey on the screen with him just drawing doodles and like getting weird creatures and shit. But it ended up kind of paying off, kind of not. I don't know. I'm still iffy about it, because in the end, Luigi ends up getting a hold of the stick. And as they introduce Fox as a Nintendo guy, and then they also introduced Pikmin at some point too, he ended up drawing Mr. Game & Watch. And oh my God, one of my friends loves mainly Mr. Game & Watch and Smash Bros. And so when he came up on the screen, I remember we all turned to look at him, and he was just like jaw on the floor, just and all of us talked about it afterwards and how we were hoping that he would do like the little like hammer swing where he hits like the crit on the 10 and it like one-shots you. Like, if he did that to Bowser, that would have actually been peak. But we didn't end up getting that. It was just kind of like a gag, I guess, but it was still pretty cool to see. And then the ending kind of killed a little bit of the storyline, just because I felt that towards the end, although they had a really messy way of getting to the climax of the film, the end just kind of really let it all down, because there was something that they could build off of. They could at least make the resolution something worthwhile, but instead they kind of just they literally wrapped it up. Like, I swear, they literally defeated Bowser and Bowser Jr. The next minute, somehow they're explaining to Peach how her castle is missing, and then the next 30 seconds they end up building the castle, and that's the end of the movie. Like, I want to say in the last minute and a half there was maybe like 3 sentences said, and it just felt so flat. Like, that's really all we're going to get? And then if you didn't stay to watch the end credit scenes, you wouldn't have even known what happened to Bowser and Bowser Jr. They didn't even really like defeat them. They just saved Bowser Jr. and Bowser was kind of defeated. I don't really want to spoil that part of it. But then at the very end, they're like locked up in a prison cell together and just being watched over by like a Luma. And that was also like a gag joke, which I was fine with, but they didn't really explain any of that. We're just supposed to believe that they ended up beating them, that they have them captured somewhere, and that they're not going to escape from this prison. But I don't know. It was like, it was not anything insane. Like Arkham Asylum, like people be breaking out of that, and that's like 10 times more fortified than whatever this thing was. But I really do want to highlight the world building because I think that was a huge focus of the movie. They wanted to do a lot of spin-offs, and now they have so many opportunities for that. And I do think that it was kind of fun to see all of the different Mario stuff, and they did it in like a funny way sometimes too. Like they didn't have everything as actual like creatures or people, but in the background you would see like plushies or whatever. Like there was a scene where they're at a carnival and hiding, and in the background you can see like a Thwomp plushie, and I don't know, I thought that was really funny. And so some of the references that they put out there were really neat, and I thought the artwork was obviously well done. I just wish that the storyline was a little bit more put together, and I wish they just chose that direction. Like I'm telling you guys, if they decided to just make Peach the main character of the movie, it probably would have done a lot better. But instead, they wanted Peach to be like the somewhat main character, but like we don't want to say she's the main character, but she is. But like let's put Mario up on there, just to have the screen time, and I don't know, it was messy, but overall, I really did have a lot of fun with it. Like I said, I don't think it was a good movie just because of the plot line. I think the scoreline for Rotten Tomatoes was so low just because they rate it based off like the plot and what you do from A to B to get there. And so I wouldn't put a whole lot of weight into that score, but I do think that the plot line's a little weak. You can still have a ton of fun with it. So that's all of my thoughts. And I guess I also answered my questions regarding the movie because an hour before I was supposed to see it, I saw a tweet from the director of the movie saying how they weren't going to do a Super Smash Bros. Film and like no plans for that, at least as of right now. And I was really confused. And so now or I guess now having seen the movie and thinking about that tweet, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. But thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys do see it, I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. And I hope you all have a great day.